점수 잡는 hackers.
Hey everyone, welcome to your SAT prep class. I am your reading instructor, Angela, and starting today, I will help you on your journey to the reading section. Now, if you take a look, as you know from our title, it is a prep class, meaning what? Anyone who is preparing for the SATs is welcome for this class. Now, for first-timers, you will be able to learn the format as well as the correct approach for each question. That way, you can get the most out of your efforts. Now, for other students, now under 35 and over 35, I mean the number of correct answers you normally get. Now, if you get under 35, that is your average score. That means you are averaging -4 per passage, meaning almost half of your questions are wrong. That means you have certain weaknesses that you have to identify and modify your behavior according to that so that you can get more correct answers. Now, if you get over 35, that means you are still making mistakes, and most of the mistakes will be similar. So you are making a habit of making the same mistakes. So what are we going to do? We are going to help you familiarize with the design of the SATs and then find your mistakes and correct them so that you can up your scores. Now, let's take a brief look at what the SAT reading section looks like. Well, we have 5 passages, 4 single passages, and 1 pair, each having about 500 to 750 words. You have 65 minutes to solve 52 multiple choice questions. Now, this is important. First of all, you have 52 questions for 65 minutes. Now, the sheer number of questions means that you don't have a lot of time to waste. And also, the fact that this is a multiple choice question tells us a lot. Now, what does it tell us? Well, before we get into that, we need to talk about the purpose of the SATs. Now, why was the SAT developed? Why was it designed? Well, it was designed to help colleges with an objective, reliable assessment of prospective students. Since colleges have students coming in from all over the world, they needed one standard, one reliable assessment that could help them evaluate prospective students. So, in order to make an objective reading test, what do? Well, they make sure that every answer has only one correct answer choice. And they do this by how? Paraphrasing it somewhere in the passage. So, this is not your normal high school English class where all answers are open to interpretation, as long as you can, what? Support them. No, this is the SATs where everything is multiple choice, which means there's only going to be one absolutely true correct answer, and that is absolutely true. How? Because it is going to be somewhere in the passage. So this is what you always have to remember. Now, if you take a look, the basic design of any reading test is as follows. First, you have to read the question. And then once you read the question, what you have to do is you have to locate it in the passage. Now, the first thing you do not want to do is pull it out of your head, pull the answer out of your head based on a cursory reading of the passage. No, that is where you make a mistake. You always go back to the passage and make sure you locate the exact line. And then what you do, you carefully read that line and then find the paraphrased version within the answer choice. So for this case, what we do is we will read the question. It says, the narrator indicates that the burglar continuing to smoke despite the rules of the house is, and then we have 4 answer choices. Meaning what? Somewhere in the passage, it is going to tell us that this is proof of his low moral character, a symptom of society's current depravity, an indication of his disrespect for homeowners, etc. So we have to find this. So we go back to the passage here, and we start reading from this paragraph. Why? Because we see the word smoking as well as rules. So once you start reading here, you see this part. I think that the conceding of a privilege to a burglar, which is denied to a bishop, is a conspicuous sign of the looseness of the times. Now that we have done what? We have located the information in the passage. What was next? We have to go back to the answer choice and make sure we find the correct paraphrased version of this in the answer choice. Now, if you take a look, looseness of the times would be society's current depravity. So our only answer choice would be B. Now, if you heard, I just used the word only, Meaning what? Again, there's only one correct answer choice. There is no controversy over questions that appear on the SATs. There is one absolutely true answer choice, and that is possible because why? It is going to be somewhere in the passage. Remember that, okay? Now, if you look at our textbook, it has 4 different classifications for the question types. For our class, we're going to make them into 2. So, mastering basic content and analyzing, synthesizing information, we will call detailed questions. These will rely on specific details in the passage, just like we saw in the previous question. Now, grasping the big picture and identifying rhetorical techniques, we will call big picture questions. Now, before you go into next class, make sure you check your textbook and learn how each question is usually worded. So the next time you see the question, you will be able to correctly identify which type of question it is. Now, if you look at mastering basic content, these will be the most important questions in my opinion. Why? Well, first of all, they account for 60% of the total number of questions. So that is a lot. And also, vocabulary in text, usually 2 per passage, so 10 questions. Stated information detail question, implied as well as evidence and support-based question. There will be 2 sets for each passage, meaning what? 4 questions per passage. So these will account for about what? 20 questions. Graph and figure questions are there to make sure that you understand how to interpret graphs, charts, or tables. So these rely solely on your ability to interpret these types of graphics and have nothing to do with the passage. So all of these we will call detailed questions, and whether you are under 35 or over 35, you have to make sure that you start with these and make sure you get as many as you can correctly.